Thank you again. If this is the second time that you've been tuning in, my name is Anthony Urquidez. And if this is the first time that you're tuning in, then thank you for the first time. This is Life Between Screens, the podcast that is a documentation of the creative journey of mine, my personal creative journey. Episode 0 was an introduction to kind of let you know, kind of get you acclimated, give you a little taste of what might be to come, what I plan on doing for this podcast, what I plan on doing for the content that I plan on providing and all that fun stuff. Just to give you guys a heads up, and hopefully you plan on sticking around. Hopefully you plan on spreading the word. Hopefully you plan on engaging, and I'm interested in what you guys have to say. I received feedback from the last episode. I greatly appreciate it. I'm working on it. The things that were brought up to my attention. Hopefully the audio sounds better for everybody out there. Making sure that it sounds a little bit clearer and making sure you guys have the juice. Making sure you guys are all pumped up. So Episode 1. Episode 1. I had to get rid of that little life between screens in the corner for you. Episode 1 is about me and the journey of stumbling into design. And while I may have, in one form or fashion, always been creative in my life, I never knew that graphic design could be an option as far as a career or income or providing any longevity for paying bills and all the fun stuff of society. And I started doing designs because I was a wrestling nerd. Too sweet me, bro. I started doing design because I was a wrestling nerd and wanted to make banners for my signatures in message boards that I was posting on at the time. What a concept. Message boards. What, anybody out there remember those? What were BB Forum or all those fun stuff? I remember hosting different sites just because I wanted to have my own message board. I was into it, man. I was into it. But I just never knew that graphic design could be an option, a viable way of income or a viable way of living life. Coming from my cultural background, I believe I am a first generation immigrant. First generation, citizen or whatever it may be. I'm not too sure. I don't want to be using terms that I don't know. And one thing you're going to find out, I don't like editing. I really don't. I don't want to seem too polished. I don't know. I want to be able to be as authentic and genuine to everyone out there as possible. I want to be able to have a conversation with you guys and have that be long form. So, just from my cultural background, my maternal side of the family came over here from Mexico, and they were really focused on job security and being able to lock down a secure way of being able to provide for the family. And when you have to worry about providing and doing those things, I'm not really too sure that happiness is the motivation versus putting food on the table, which by all means, I understand. I truly, truly, truly do. I don't know if there was much, though, emphasis put on cultivating creativity versus you got to go do what you got to go do. And I feel as if times maybe appearances seem to be a lot more, depend a lot more, or be valued a lot more than what was actually being done. When I try and talk to, maybe it's parents, maybe it's just whatever. Maybe I don't. I mean, I have no idea, but it seems to me that there was more value being put on the fact that I had a button-up shirt and a tie on versus, that it seemed that was more valuable. The fact that I was wearing those items was more valuable than the actual function or actual value of the position that I was in. And I mean, that's really unfortunate. I mean, but I get it culturally. It's you don't want to look blue collar, you want to look white collar. I get it, but living life on other people's terms, which I like to say is what I did for the longest time, led me to, I pursued college in fall of 2005. And in spring of 2006, I left college. I could not find any direction or reason for me to be in that school. I don't know why. It's like I've said in the first episode, in episode 0. Life to me is a pragmatic approach. It's kind of like a buffet. I take what I need and I leave the rest. And I just could not I didn't see any reason for me to be sitting in pre-1800 history, sciences and whatnot, because at the time that just did not interest me. And maybe if I had a way to kind of harness the creative energy I had at the time, because it wasn't like I was lazy at the time. I didn't leave college and not do anything. I left college, I left Cal State Fullerton, and in the meantime, I was working, at department stores and to be able to make rent. And I was also starting to make MySpace layouts and band T-shirts on the side. The MySpace layouts were such a nice little lucrative profit at the time, in 2005, 2006, when, you just, that right click, look at properties and you get to view everybody's beautiful code and kind of make it your own. And, people kind of come to you for that. And it was a commodity at the time. How many people now, looking back, say that was part of their start? I really don't know. And I don't know whether or not I actually considered it part of my start, It wasn't until I had the opportunity to kind of have a 2020 hindsight and look at the fact of I've had a lot of friends in bands from growing up in a DIY hardcore punk scene. We had Showcase Theater over here in Corona, a complete, I would probably say that is the reason why I have met so many friends that I have and have, I love the city of Corona because it holds a place in my heart, because this is where Showcase is at and it was at. And, I live somewhat down the street from it. I pass by it every single day. The skeleton that was once Showcase Theater. If you haven't heard of Showcase, or if you have, or whatnot, but if you haven't, I would encourage you to find videos on YouTube and do whatever you can. There was a documentary that was supposed to come out at some point for this venue over here in Southern California, known as Showcase Theater. You look at some of the videos and I just remember my goal growing up My goal was to create a band so I could play there. And lo and behold, we have. And lo and behold, I'm still friends with people from that band to this day. And I've seen some of them go to do great things, to know that the friends and the people in this subculture that I grew up in have gone on to really kind of influence culture around us. I don't know, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day, but, um, you know, in 2010, I started freelancing for a local bar in Corona. And that was my first real taste of freelance, quote unquote, freelance work. That wasn't just for friends' bands, or it wasn't just for, hey, can you do this MySpace, or can you hit me up with a header, or do a couple buttons, or I need a couple T-shirts done, or whatever it may be. This was the first time where it kind of felt that people, normal 9 to 5ers, we're going to be seeing work. And this kind of meant that, the eyes were going to be on it. And so I would say that ended up being a very big gateway to what I do now, as far as seeing that graphic design, it wasn't always going to be pretty, but it was going to be what the client needed, what the client wanted, and what was the purpose that was being served. And did we achieve that goal? And where was this? It was a constant thinking on your toes, kind of trying to keep up with whatever need or whatever idea was coming up with the time, whatever promotional event or whatever, crazy thought that they may have had at the time. It was fun. It was fun. And I made a lot of friends. Some of my best friends came from that place. I still talk to one of my I consider him a brother of mine. I met him and his wife through that place, and they just moved to Texas. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like you real bittersweet, where you have this history with somebody, you have this longevity, and then you see them go, and it's probably for the best, and absolutely it's for the best, because that you trust their best judgment, and you love to see them go, make something completely great out of their family and out of themselves. And but the selfish side of me goes like, man, I wish I could have kind of kept them around, the sensitive, creative, empathetic side of me, feels for just like, I'm happy and I'm sad. It's bittersweet, but, I have a lot to thank for that place. So it seems that whenever I crossed a doorway, there may have been 4 or 5 more doorways behind that one, but the benefits and just the beauty of it all, the beauty of friendship and all that was waiting for me on the other side of doing this stuff called design for a bar. As silly as it may sound, the story finds you. And so during this time, I'm moving, to different cities in the Inland Empire, and I end up in Redlands and for a couple years, and I'm there, and just for whatever reason, man, like I don't know, I just, growing up or being misguided, or I don't know, just a lot of misguided creative energy, unfocused creative energy led me to kind of need to go and pull some arrows out of my behind, if you will. I had a kind of, I felt like I was going 12 rounds with Mike Tyson, and he's bitten both my ears off, and I still got to go on. As a dated reference for everybody out there, I guess, everybody born after 2000. But you know, you know, all this time and all this trying to figure out, I never took the time to stop to try and figure anything out. I just kind of go, just kind of, figuring it out as I go along, kind of the feeling of, okay, this train is going and I'm laying one track ahead of ahead of the engine, so I'm just barely kind of getting by, barely kind of making sense out of everything. And when I moved back home with my family, with my quote unquote roommates, my maternal roommate, because, there's a negative connotation that for moving home or trying to be able to better yourself or advance your position by taking a step back, by being able to do that. I'm completely blessed that I was able to be there, and there was a lot that was going on at the time that led me to kind of figure a lot of things out. At the time when I moved back home in 2012 to 2013, I planned on moving out in 2013, and there was an accident, and my mother had broken her leg in 13 places. Kind of just completely turned my world upside down, to say the least. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember the feeling of, what am I going to do? Oddly enough, at the same time, the TV and internet had gone out. At the same time that she had hurt her leg, and not just hurt her leg, shattered her leg, the internet and the TV had gone out. And so I had to kind of sit there with my thoughts. And I mean, nowadays I practice meditation and mindfulness, having a little bit more of a handle on these types of things, having a little bit more of the proper tools to cope, when these things kind of rise up and make themselves apparent in my life. But at the time, there was no barometer. There was no reference point for anything like this. This was probably what I considered the worst thing to happen in our family. Like we didn't really suffer a whole lot of tragedy or, hardship like that. I would say in the fact of, my mother is kind of the matriarch of the family, so I have a brother and I have a sister, and we all kind of came together at the time and kind of took care of everything while my mother was recuperating. But I remember at the time that I was thinking, living here is fine, and you can move out, but what are you gonna do? I mean, like, what are you gonna do when there's no one else there to help you? I mean, and I'm not saying that help is a bad thing. Need is not a bad thing. Help is not a bad thing. If you need help, you need help. There's plenty of times where I've asked for help because I've needed it. There's no shame in that, and shame on anybody for trying to shame you if you need help and trying to get it and trying to better yourself. I think if you're out there and you're trying to move your life forward 3 yards at a time in a cloud of dust, then damn it, I'm here for you for it, but I remember having that thought of, what are you going to do? What's in your skill set? What do you have in your toolbox? And I didn't have an answer, I remember 6 o'clock in the morning sitting on the back on a truck bed, just kind of sitting in the back. We had 5 acres and just kind of just watching everything and not really knowing. And I decided that I was going to invest in a Wacom tablet, Intuos 5 medium. It wasn't the biggest, but it wasn't the smallest. So at least I can live with being mediocre, I guess. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't illustrate. I can pretend, but I don't. I can pretend to do it. I can pretend that, oh yeah, I can fake it till you make it and all this other stuff. But I am a terrible drawer, a terrible illustrator. Ever since I was in first grade, I wish I could draw Dragon Ball Z characters, but I could not even get their hair right. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the hair is the only thing I can get right, the closest thing I can get right. But, I mean, I could not draw, man, but for whatever reason, I had it in my head that, once I get this Wacom tablet and I'm able to draw, then everything else is going to fall into place. And, I began to try and attempt to create something every day. And it was around that time when Instagram had come out for Android. And so I kind of started posting on there, on an old account, and just posting something that I created every single day. And while it may not have been a complete, empathetic approach to design, which I'm trying to practice now, and I'm trying to, spread the word and knowledge of, but it was the practice of doing these movements and actively trying to create and keep my brain engaged into this kind of daily creative flow. I believe that was crucial. I decided that, always be creating, always be closing, always be creating. I can kind of see now, in my life that I feel that there's two modes. I feel like I have a theory, that there's two modes that we kind of have going on. That we have our consumption mode, in which, I go to my 9 to 5 and I sit down and I listen to Chris Do, I listen to Mr. Ben Burns, I listen to The Future, I listen to Gary Vee, I listen to Seth Godin, I listen to Blair Enns, I listen to all these people, all these creators, so I'm consuming what the creators are putting out. I'm consuming the creators' content. There's that mode, consuming. And there's creating. And just like the yin and yang, for the audio listeners, I have a yin and yang mug here, unplanned. I just didn't, full transparency, I just didn't do my dishes, and this is here from this morning, so I apologize. But just like the yin and yang, there's two sides to everything. And so there's that feeling of, man, I lost my train of thought with that. I don't even know. See, and this is the part where we'd be like, oh, let me go and edit it. And no. I being genuine and authentic, I lost my train of thought. I know that there was a point of duality, that even with one option, that there's two options with one option. And, it just came back to me. I'm glad I did that. So I can either consume good, nourishing content, or content that's not really going to nourish and contribute to my growing at all. Not going to name anything out there, up for your interpretation of what I'm talking about. I'm obviously not judging, I watch wrestling. Enough said. I'm aware, of the connotation that comes with that, but I view these things, you can either consume good or bad, or you can create good or bad. I choose to try and create harmony. I choose to not try and create chaos. It's real simple for me. And lo and behold, I chose that I was going to create something every single day. You know, when I bought this tablet, and it allowed me to, at least, I believe now, looking back, it allowed me to not have an excuse for not creating something. You know, because you have everything. You have two monitors, and you have a tablet, and you have space and time, and you know, the only thing you can do now is come up with excuses, and you know, it's just easier to make something. It's just easier to create, you know. So uh you know, that was 2013, 2014. I'm really starting to hit my stride, and I meet my girlfriend slash future wife, you know, my beautiful, amazing partner in crime, the you know, the my other half. You know, she was living in Utah, in Salt Lake at the time. And, you know, we reached a point where we had been traveling back and forth to go see each other, and we'd been keeping up. And, you know what I mean? The Skype was probably, I mean, I don't know, man. If Skype would have been my best man at the wedding, if I had a best man at the wedding, because I don't think that our relationship would have you know, made it if it wasn't for that. You know, we video chatted every single night, and she would be there as I'm designing, and I'd design away till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. She'd fall asleep, and you know, it never felt like you know, it felt like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, this felt natural. It just as natural as this is to kind of, it feels to kind of share this information, to kind of provide context, you know, to tell these stories that I've never really had the opportunity to share with people before. You know, it felt right, feels right. And so it came to a point where she was we knew that she was going to be moving to California, meaning I was not going to be moving to Utah. I love Salt Lake, but you know, my roots are here in California at the time, and her desire to move to California at the time. So, yeah, we set a plan in motion, and the most honest to God nerve-wracking part for me was the fact that she left a job with 10 years of experience there, you know what I mean, and everything. She just up and left. You know, that was it. She knew that she was going to be moving to California. She said, okay, that's it. And while it was a decision that she just knew that she was going to make on her end, and it wasn't anything that she had kind of questioned, or maybe she did and just didn't really kind of voice it at the time, but she was diving in with both feet, you know, or head first, or whatever it may be, whichever was more dramatic. And for the first time in my life, I felt a pressure that I've never felt before. You know, that feeling of, you know, she's moving here with a dog, and I have to take care, or feel as if I have a sense of responsibility for something that's greater than myself. And I mean, that was, at this whole time, from the time I had moved back in 2012 to the current point in the story of 2014, you know, I had been still freelancing and doing things. And to be quite honest, I say freelancing, but you know, it was part of it was laziness. You know, um, living with the maternal roommate, you know, rent free, or taking care of 5 acres was the rent payment, or whatever you wanted to, however you wanted to justify it, however you wanted to spin it. I was not putting in enough effort in retrospect. So I began to apply to jobs. When she moved out here, I began to try and find a place, try and find a place of employment. And I found my current job as a graphic designer, um, a graphic artist, I believe is my official title. And it felt like the goal was accomplished. Like everything that I had set out to do was achieved, and what was it? What 27-year-old feeling like he's achieved it all, and like, okay. At a certain point, I started feeling, wait a second, I, I I'm not fulfilled. Like him. Wait. Did I just waste the past couple years of my life? Did I just, I thought I had it right, with my, when with the Wacom tablet and investing and not being able to have an excuse anymore. And I don't know. It felt as if there was a big piece missing inside of me. And it was around this time where I started having anxiety problems. Anxiety and depression started manifesting in ways that it kind of didn't before. And it I would wake up in the middle of the night. What more could there be? What more can you do? You're lucky to be here. I'm gonna do an episode in the future on it, but that imposter syndrome, man. I mean, that imposter syndrome, that feeling like they're gonna find me out. They're gonna find out I don't belong here. Don't they know I'm just lucky to be here? Don't they know, like, what value? What value? I mean, so these feelings start swirling, man, and once they start, I mean, I'm the type of character of which I have a hard time reaching out to people to start a conversation, or at least letting people know, hey, this is what's going on. I need help. And so, I mean, I to provide context to that, I don't judge people who need help at all. I just have a problem asking for it. It's something that I don't know if I don't know, and I don't want to project, but I don't know if a lot of people kind of go through it. But the feeling of like, oh man, now I have to have all the answers. Now I have to be the one that knows everything. That's a tough one. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. But I intended to try and find out, and I intended to do my best to try and find out. And like I had mentioned in episode 0, in the intro, I came across a video on YouTube with Chris Do, and he had talked about, he had made mention of the Star Wars scene where Luke Skywalker, defeats the old version of himself and lays that version of himself to rest, and where he knew that, okay, that's, that in that kind of moment where when he discovered a real life graphic designer, he knew that his old self, what he interpreted as graphic design or whatnot, and all this other perception that he had, that was laid to rest. He had found what he was looking for. and he had found his path. And I mean, whether or not this was something new that I had heard, I feel as if I had heard it at the time in which I needed to hear it. My father likes to say, you know, the message finds you when it finds you. You know what I mean? Don't be worried so much about when it finds you. Just be grateful that it did. And you know, I can sit here and I can be upset and I can be spiteful that YouTube wasn't a thing when I went to college, because maybe I would have found my way or found an audience or found a form of education. I mean, I don't know. That's part of the stumbling into graphic design, is that there's a lot that I don't know. And there's a lot of pressure to present yourself and angle yourself and to, I hate the term, to sell yourself as a graphic designer, or sell yourself as an expert. And I can't pretend, man. Like I said, I'm not good at sales in the traditional sense. I'm good at just presenting a side of myself, and buffet of life. I present sides of myself, and you take it or leave it. I can't force you can't force anybody to do anything. And you can't force anybody to like you or understand you. And if everybody likes you, then you're doing something wrong. And if everybody hates you, then I don't know. I don't know. But, there's a lot of things that you battle, that insecurity, that imposter syndrome manifests in many different ways of, when I find these videos that the future puts out, there's always a side of me that goes, yeah, but is anybody going to really believe that you're going to actually be the expert? And it's like, well, man, like, I'm not trying to be the expert. Like, I'm trying to be, but I'm not trying to be that now, I feel like for the first time in my life, I really do have some sort of framework finally established, and I'm finally putting out work that reflects the amount of thought. I'm finally able to let the details speak for themselves, in the sense of I'm finally able to let the silence speak for itself, not rush things, not clutter things, not make things seem more frantic, or trying to make myself appear to be something I'm not. No, keep things calm, keep things me. I'm learning to allow others to view me as the buffet. I keep going back to that. Maybe it's because I'm 10:45 at night and I'm hungry. Maybe I'm finally willing to let people view me as like, okay, I see Anthony, and he does this, but I don't really do this, but I see what value he does with the way he designs logos, or with the way he speaks, or whatever it may be. I plan on doing a variety of different things with this channels to be able to engage with a variety of different people, because I know different things help different people learn. There's no one way into this thing, and this podcast helps keep me accountable. You know, if I say, well, at the end of every week, I'm going to give you the 5 things that I learned this week, then it kind of means I have to learn 5 things this week and present them to you, so that way you can learn, so that way you don't have to spend as much time trying to find these 5 different things. You can just come to me, come to Anthony, you know, whatever. Just you know, and I'll be able to provide you with a little bit of information, a little bit of clarity, you know. I've spent years with my head in the sand, you know, and I'm learning now to try and give back to the people who may benefit from me trying to learn, you know. The Leela Project, which is a non-profit that I do design work for, they have a great concept, and they have a great mentality of find yourself by losing yourself in the service of others, you know, and I believe that's a really strong sentiment to have. I believe that's a really strong viewpoint to have. And, you know, I'm not going to be putting out this content for the short term of thinking about, oh, well, this video has more likes than this video, and how can I maximize my, you know, I'm trying to look for ways to maximize my reach, to maximize the amount of help I can provide. But, you know, today was barbers and backpacks. And what I saw today was a lot of service, was a lot of people giving their time, was a lot of people giving back. And I was very fortunate to be able to take my son and expose him to a more positive side of life, a more positive side of people giving back, you know. I was watching the Jim and Sam show, and they had Freeway Ricky Ross on there. You know, personal opinions aside, whatever you may think of him, whatever. But they had Freeway Ricky Ross on there, and I there's a line that he kind of just has in the interview with them that said, you know, as long as I win more than I lose, I'm good. You know, and it's people like, I mean, granted, the message finds you, and it's messages like that from him. It's messages like, you know, it's not too late. The past does not define you. The future is what you make it. Or, you know, the return on investment should be happiness. You know, I get it. You know, I get the money. I get, you know, I don't know, man. You know, I understand the pursuit of more. But I think since having my son, I've kind of learned that, man, you know, there's going to be a little bit more that's left behind than there's more than what am I trying to say? How am I trying to say it? What's the most beautiful way I can say it? What's the most digestible, you know, I'm just trying to leave this place better than when I came into it, and trying to help people not have to do this so late in the game. It feels like, you know, if you're 20 some odd years old, cool. If you're 40 some odd years old, cool. If there's you're right on time. You're right where you need to be. You know, I'm here to help. You know, I stumbled into design. I didn't know that it was possible. I didn't know that strategy and empathy played such a huge part of this. I thought it was, you make pretty pictures and you choose the right color scheme, and you sell some shirts and that's it, But the moment that I see that I can make more of a difference through this, it means a lot more, and I don't know. It's beautiful. I appreciate it, and I look forward to nothing but learning. I look forward to you tuning in and engaging, Please like, subscribe, smoke signal, carrier pigeon, fax, telegram, whatever you need to do. But let me know how you feel. Let me know how I can do better. Let me know, When you know better, you grow better. And yeah. My name is Anthony Urquidez. I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm a creative from Southern California. Thank you very much.